The world is changing in ways that seem to be faster than most of us can process. What looks like a divide is an opportunity to build bridges. The Road with Cove Queen Janine Sullivan is 1 hour that connects with people from all over the world, finding ways to orchestrate our oneness. Yes, we have more in common than we may sometimes perceive. Tune into The Road with Cove Queen Janine as we discover answers to life's most interesting questions and build a bridge of love. Come on in. Join me on this adventure. I want to know how you plan to change your precious corner of the world.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to The Road with Cove Queen Janine. I am your host, Janine Sullivan. You can hear my show every Wednesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time over Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, and you'll find them by searching dreamvision7radio.com. While you're there, take a look at their incredible website and the list of their inspirational hosts. They have a beautiful archive section. If you've missed any of my previous shows, pop in there. Look for The Road with Cove Queen Janine, and you'll find some very interesting guests we've had in the past. Today's show is sponsored by Philomena Tripp, author of Invisible Courage. Born with 3 missing limbs in 1955, Philomena turned what could have been a disastrous life into a life of success, action, and love. She beat the odds right from birth. Philomena Tripp learned to love the person she is and to move forward from that point of view. Invisible Courage is a fascinating story of courage and devotion to being the best person she could be. You can find Invisible Courage on Amazon or by visiting Philomena Tripp, and that's with 2 P's, .blogspot.com, and we thank Mrs. Tripp for sponsoring the show today. As you know, this program is designed to bridge gaps, and I mention this intention each week. It occurred to me after speaking with someone that the desire to bridge a gap is really the first step, and let's face it, that's the first step with most things. We must have the desire to move forward. So as I was speaking to this person who I had known for a while, our conversations began to get less and less, and truthfully, we were down to about 2 words, and I knew something was up, and I wanted to, repair it. So I asked her what was going on, and with a little bit of hostility, she said, "What do we have in common?" Well, it gave me a little pause, that question, and I thought about it. I thought we had things in common that we had right along, but she did not agree. And this is what I mean about desire. We really have to find the common ground and just grow it from there. So suddenly the bridge over the gap became somewhat invisible, and the task of building that bridge became a little more deliberate and difficult. And one of the things that this question did for me was make me think, what do we have in common? Can we find that common ground? Can we bridge gaps? And when I talk about gaps, I mean those things that breed hatred, those things that breed violence, that sort of thing. And when I suggest to you and myself, for that matter, to find those ways to repair relationships, to repair situations, that's what I'm talking about. And here on The Road with Cove Queen Janine, we've had an eclectic list of guests, but there has always been a common thread. And that common thread is people who have suffered trauma or have doubts and fears, a host of debilitating situations that could have turned their life into one direction, but they chose to overcome the obstacles and allow their deepest gifts to shine. They became proactive in their own life. And today's show is no different. I have a fabulous guest here for you, a woman who took trauma and transformed what happened to her into a life based in action, a life based in living. Her name is Adrianne Haslet. She's an active Blade runner, dancer, adventurer, a fierce global advocate for amputee rights. Growing up with in her parents' independent bookstore with her two brothers, she learned the meaning of hard work, commitment, and sticking to your dreams. At an early age, Adrianne decided she wanted to be Ginger Rogers when she grew up, and sticking to that dream with the support of an artistic family, she struggled but was able to make that dream a reality. The quote rings true to anyone seeking success in their own life. When someone tells you it cannot be done, it's more of a reflection on their limitations, not yours. And you've heard all about the Boston Marathon bombing. Well, I want you to know today's guest, Adrianne Haslet, is a Boston Marathon survivor. She's a speaker, an advocate, and a voice of courage. I can't wait to talk to her. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while now. Let's get Adrianne in here because we have so much to talk about. Adrianne, come on in. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Janine. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm very excited to talk to you. I just love when I meet people who take a situation, and in your case it was a very traumatic situation, and take the time to experience what it does to them and then move forward in a positive, productive life. I've looked at your website, and I want to ask our listeners while they're listening to our conversation to search Adrianne Haslet. That's Adrianne, ADrianne, and you can take a peek at her website while we're chatting. Adrianne,
yes,
I look at your website.
It's Haslet. No, sorry to correct. It's just HAS instead of ES. Yeah.
Okay,
Haslet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I have the same with my name, too. Thank you for correcting that. So I encourage the listeners to pull that up and take a peek. Adrianne, one of the things I noticed right away was a picture of you holding a picket sign, and I said, this is a girl after my own heart. Clearly, you're proactive. I wonder if we could begin at the beginning, if you would like to share with the audience the moments that led up to the bombing. Let's set the tone for that, if we may.
Yes. Yeah, so I am proud to say I am still and was at the time a professional ballroom dancer, so a professional athlete. I know that a lot of people don't think of dancers as athletes, but we certainly are, and we think it's really cute that other sports get off seasons. We don't. Or backups. We're the only ones that know our choreography. We take a cortisone shot and get right back out there. But I was a professional athlete at the time and not a runner. I had seen Lalisa Desisa cross the finish line on a television downstairs in my building, and I was able to see that he was not only the winner of the 2013 Boston Marathon. It was his first Boston Marathon, and I thought to myself, wow, that is huge. Yes, I'm, by choice trapped in a dance studio my entire life, but I have a great respect for sports and other sports and know the dedication that it takes. So regardless if you understand it or not, that's quite the feat, as they say. Mm-hmm. And I could no longer just linger about my day off. So I took a walk down onto Newbury Street, where for those that don't know Boston, there are lots of shops. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go and take a quick walk around the block. And I walked, I took a right on Exeter and another right onto Boylston Street, and right at that exact second, I heard a loud blast behind me, and I saw, that there was black smoke. I felt the ground shake, and I immediately yelled, terrorist attack, and I covered my ears and thought, this is it. The next one's going to hit, and I'm saying this out loud. And people are looking at me crazy and in disbelief at each other. And the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. I was conscious through the entire thing until they put me under for surgery. And I was on the ground, and I remember thinking, I'm so heavy. I thought something had landed on top of my body. I just could not move it. And it was really just the impact and the shock of the impact on my organs and my internal body and brain and such. And I was in complete shock, and then I was able to lift my neck, just my neck, enough to see that my right upper thigh was completely gouged open, where they found a lot of the pressure cooker shrapnel. And I was only, foot and a half to 2 feet away from where he dropped the backpack. I was bumping shoulders with him. I saw in a surveillance video. And then I looked down at my left leg, and it was just pouring blood, and there was no foot. So I thought two things. Number one, this is it for me. This is where it ends. And number two, I'm never going to be able to call my family and have them come out in a reasonable amount of time to say goodbye. And my family, I grew up in Seattle. I moved to Boston for dancing, and I knew that there's no way that they could make it out. And I had first responders come and put me in the back of an ambulance, and I made it to Boston Medical Center, and I felt a buzz above all my clothes cut off of me with scissors, and I felt a buzz above my shoulder where all of the clothes were gathered, and it was my cell phone. And I thought, I need to call my parents. And so I called my parents, and in that moment, I learned one of my first lessons, which was, make sure you take 2 minutes before reacting to any situation. And that was, I don't know where they are, but I do know that this is going to be my last time talking to them, and I need to make it memorable. So I asked them where they were, and my dad answered, and he said, we are on the freeway, Mom's driving, so it's legal to talk. You can't talk with us on a cell phone while driving, and my parents are strict rule followers. And and I said, I wasn't crying at that point. I was in too much shock to absorb the reality that was going on. And then I said, you need to pull over. And he said, Adrianne, my father said, that it's illegal to pull over on the street, on the freeways in Seattle. And I said, pull over, there's been a terrorist attack, I'm going to die. And I have no foot. And he pulled over, and I talked to them in the hardest conversation that ever happened in my life, and will ever happen in my life. And we said our goodbyes, and I said to hop on a plane, that I probably wouldn't be here. And another nurse confirmed that I probably wouldn't be there.
Wow.
And then I went into surgery.
That's an incredible story.
I woke up and my parents were there, and that was the greatest moment of my life.
Oh, you woke up and they were there. I
can't imagine getting on a flight and not knowing whether or not your daughter or son or daughter would be alive.
Oh, it had to be a sheer agony for them. There's no doubt about that. It had to be
all the way across the country. They have no idea how to email or get online on a plane, or they don't know those kinds of things. They're not. They don't get that.
This is a situation when a minute feels like hours. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it must have been sheer agony. Yeah. So you woke up and saw their faces. You're alive. Are you getting any sense from the doctors that you will survive this horrendous attack?
I did. I knew I would survive, but at the time, I just felt hopeless. I lost my leg, and I knew I'd lost my leg on impact, but it was really when I woke up that and my parents were there, and I saw their faces of, my daughter has to give up her biggest dream in life, and we don't know the future, I was going in for another surgery shortly after, with my discussion about it and with the surgeon, and that's when it really sank in. And so, yes, I was alive, but to say I had high hopes was not accurate.
Well, my next question for you is I thought maybe I'd ask it a little deeper into our conversation, which the question is, how did this change you? But it sounds like the minute you came out of surgery, you were detecting all of the changes already. In the days that followed, you said you felt hopeless. What was your experience at that point once you had a sense of what had happened to you?
You know, it was tough. My brothers flew out, and it was really rough. I felt like, you know, I wanted to dance again. I definitely said I was going to dance again. I meant it. I wanted to run the Boston Marathon. I meant it. But at the same time, there are these fleeting moments of, I can do this, and then there are many moments of self-doubt.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because when I'm talking to people, Adrianne, I really savor real honest conversation. And I think we have to address the sorrow, the loss, the grief, all of those things, the depression.
Oh, gosh, yeah. No one would believe me. I mean, that's what I refuse to ever have a conversation without saying that I had doubts and fear. And, you know, anyone who thinks that they can go through something tragic, whether it's limb loss or a terrorist attack like I went through, or anything like that, and pretend that it didn't change you, or that, you know, you don't have bad days, you know, you're lying. You know, there's that, I'm a diver, and there's a saying that there are two types of people. There are people that pee in wetsuits and liars. And so there are people that go through trauma and cry about it, and then there are liars. Yeah, you have to talk about the ugly, and I have no problem talking about that. In fact, I promote it on a daily basis.
I appreciate that, and would it be fair to say, this happened 4 years ago, you had to take the time you needed to process all of it, to move through the various emotions, and if you could speak to that a little bit, because I think we live in an age where, you know, it's a quick fix time that we're in, and you know, there's some things that just can't be fixed rapidly. I would love if you could share with the audience the steps you took to move through all of this very difficult emotion and loss.
Well, I love that you asked the question. Thank you so much, Janine. And you know, I think the first thing that I want to say for the steps that I took is that I'm still taking them. I don't believe in recovered. I think the word recovered should be exiled. I believe the end is just a font at the end of a Disney movie. There is such thing as a new normal, which I do believe in. And your new normal, as my surgeon said to me on day 3, he said, Adrianne, I promise you your life will never be the same, but I also promise you it doesn't have to be bad. And I thought, you know what, that's empowering. That's not false hope. That's leaving it up to me. And so the steps that I took, you know, my surgeon and I talked, and I said, there's no way that I am going through this and not having some serious mental issues. I have a very strong sense of trying to, a strong desire, I suppose I should say, of wanting to best understand myself and what I'm going through. And so in order for me to do that, I want to understand and get through it. So I told my surgeon, you know, I really want to talk to a therapist. And he had a therapist that he knew through his circle. He had a leg guy, otherwise known as a prosthetist, fancy name for a man or a woman who designs legs. He referred me, surgeon, Superman, referred me to both of those. Those were the steps I took. I took steps to find the people that I knew I needed. I knew I needed someone to talk to that wasn't going to try and solve my problems, but help me bounce ideas and talk through it and figure out how I'm going to solve it, which was not always the most perfect way, but it was
It was your way. It was your method.
It was the way that I felt like I needed to solve it, and he guided me through my mistakes and my achievements, and is still doing that. I've been seeing my therapist for, 4+ years now, almost 5, and my leg guy the same, and it's just, it's incredible and amazing, and I appreciate that greatly. So I think that the steps I took were self-care, talking about it as much as possible, as well as, and again, not everyone is the same. So this is what worked for me, but also I think the one thing that can work for everyone, the one thing, is to be emotionally honest with yourself and to be emotionally honest with people around you. So if you have made plans for someone to come over and you are having an awful, horrible, no good, very bad day, I grew up in a children's bookstore. So that's a book title. And you're having a no good, horrible, awful day, tell them. Say, you know what, we made plans today and I woke up and I'm mad. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is an emotion, and there's nothing wrong with your emotions. And we're trained, especially as women, and men, to bottle those up. And when we're emotionally honest with ourselves and saying, I don't know if I can do this today, or I don't know if I really want company anymore, we should be able to say that.
Yeah,
and
I
say,
agree.
I want you to come over, but I'm not going to be the best person. I'm not going to be the best version of myself, but I really still want you here.
I think that's very wise on your part.
That's my guidance and my lessons for people that are going through it.
I wanted to know what moved you forward through all of this, and I think you've already answered it. It sounds like we'll have to pick up that question when we come back. We're going to have a commercial break.
All right.
I'm here with Adrianne Haslet, and we'll be right back after this break.
What does courage mean to you? To Philomena Tripp, it means living the life you were born to live. Author of Invisible Courage, Philomena Tripp shares with us the importance of self-worth and how necessary it is to love who we are. Born in 1955 with multiple birth defects, no arms, and only one leg, Philomena knew in order to survive she would have to rally all her courage, faith, and persistence and live fully. Invisible Courage, a personal story of one woman's desire to beat the odds, finding success, falling in love, and most of all, discovering that her life matters. Find Invisible Courage on Amazon or by visiting philomenatripp.blogspot.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With a 40-year track record, pioneering holistic studies, and helping more than 1 million people find a deeper sense of purpose, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for an integrated approach to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org.
Everyone has an interesting story, and those stories can answer important questions. There's an open invitation waiting for you on the road with Cove Queen Janine. Join Janine and her guests from all over the world with people from all walks of life with fascinating stories on the road. This out-of-the-box hour is on every Wednesday, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Let's meet there. Remember, we all have great stories to share. The Road with Cove Queen Janine cares about rare. The rare and very underfunded condition called vanishing white matter disease is no exception. VWM is a progressive and fatal disease of the brain. VWM is part of the leukodystrophy group of rare genetic disorders that affects the myelin sheath that surrounds nerve fibers in the brain. This brain disease is often diagnosed between the ages of 2 to 6. Children gradually lose all the ability and skills they had acquired, such as speaking, walking, and the ability to eat by mouth. Currently, there is no cure for this terminal disease. We're in a race against time to find a cure for VWM. Time is not on our side. Most children born with this genetic disease die at an early age. Research efforts are greatly underfunded and there's little awareness. Please help us. Hashtag Find a Cure for VWM and save a child's life. To learn more about VWM, visit www.aftau.org/VWM. To donate to support Professor Orna Elroy Stein, PhD in Human Molecular Genetics and Research, please make your check payable to AFTAU and mail it to American Friends of Tel Aviv University, AFTAU, 39 Broadway, Suite 1510, New York, New York, 10006. Attention Joe Huber, Orna VWM Research, or online at www.crowdrise.com/find a cure for VWM.
Adrianne, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We were just about to touch on what moved you forward, and it sounds to me, Adrianne, that within you already was a sense of who you were as a person, and a sense that you need to move through the situation. So I really want to speak to that just for a moment, because you were in tune to who you were as an individual. You asked for what you needed. You said the words you needed to say. You dealt with your emotions and your grief, your loss, your anger, depression. You faced it all, and this is something I want everyone to hear, because we can't progress if we hide. Would you agree with that, Adrianne?
I do agree, and even putting those, we definitely do not progress if we hide or bury or are ashamed of getting help, or, and I'm not, therapy isn't for everyone, and I went through therapists that were horrid, so I get it. Mm-hmm. It took me a little while to find one, but if therapy isn't for you, maybe a long walk in the woods or any of that, but yes, it's about getting it out there and talking about it, and just being emotionally honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for expressing that in the way you have with the audience. I think it's valuable information. You are doing some incredible work with an organization called Limbs for Life. I was not familiar with this organization until I heard about you, so I would really appreciate some information on Limbs for Life.
Yes, certainly. Well, Limbs for Life is an organization that I discovered. Obviously, are already in existence. I discovered them after the Boston Marathon bombing. We, as amputees and the survivor community in its entirety, were very well taken care of thanks to the One Fund and Boston and beyond, and so many different cities and so many different organizations and donations that I was raised without an allowance. I was raised to never take a handout. I was raised, in that way, and so I really wanted to help out. I couldn't accept the One Fund without returning, and so I did a Google search with my lawyers, and you always hear about these organizations that give so much to their CEOs and such, and Limbs for Life is the opposite of that. They have 2% overhead, and it's all of us board members. I sit on the board now as of just last year, and after volunteering my airline miles and time and hotel points for years, and the board members and I all get to where we need to go on our own dime, and we're happy to do that so that the money can go toward what counts, and what counts is, and what our mission is providing limbs to those who cannot afford a limb otherwise, those who are choosing between feeding their children and walking across a room, literally, because they either don't have a limb or they have a limb that is 20, 30 years old, and they simply can't fit into it anymore. I mean, if you took a mold of your face when you were 10 and you tried to fit that mold onto your face and wear it every single day when you're 20, it's just not going to work.
Right.
Or a shoe, I should say. So, that's where Limbs for Life steps in. We are everyone's last bet. There are so many resources out there for limb loss, and we are the last hope for some people who are choosing between a mortgage and have a roof over their head or live in their car with a family of 7 because they want someone to be able to walk and kiss their lover looking eye to eye, or walk their child to school, or return to the workforce and not live off of food stamps. So Limbs for Life is an organization that I feel extraordinarily passionate about. If you think about why people aren't granted limbs, think about the time when, remember in our history books in school that there was a time when we as a society viewed eyesight as a disability, and corrective surgery or contact lenses or glasses, if you charge $17,000 per eye every 12 times a year or 10 times a year, depending on how much your limb changes, imagine the nation would go in uproar. And yet there are 2.1 million amputees and 507 new amputees every day. 807 this year, children due to lawnmower alone. I refuse to say accidents because I do not believe children should be riding lawnmowers. It's seen. It's not worth a photo. Take them off. It's not an accident. And so
are those figures just in this country, or are those worldwide
those figures are all U.S. Yeah, they're all U.S.
That's an incredible number.
Yeah, so 807 children, and when you have a child who has an amputation, their bones keep growing, so they need to keep getting amputated. They spend most of their childhood in a wheelchair because by the time the bone heals, it's grown just like you think kids grow out shoes and pants. Their bones grow so fast that they need to continuously get fit for legs, and they can't, so they end up in wheelchairs, end up being shunned from society, have horrible self-esteem issues, end up in the system with food stamps because they're so depressed, end up with diabetes, with weight gain, and then lose another leg. And if you think I'm being sarcastic, you can go to mobilitysaves.org, which has all the statistics from Medicare that are straight facts on all of these issues. And that's why I advocate so much, and why I was just recently given the World Advocacy Award for, along with Erin Holmes, who started Wiggle Your Toes at this year's amputee conference in Las Vegas, because we will not stand for the fact that they think that they, being Medicare and all the other insurance agencies, think that legs are a luxury. They're not a luxury. It's not a luxury to get up in the middle of the night and use the bathroom without scooting across the floor on your butt and the bathroom floor. That's not a luxury.
Adrianne, you have just shed so much light. I work with the disabled community for years now, over 30 years, and I'm unaware of this aspect of it. I'm unaware until now how the children really struggle. And in the beginning of the show I said one thing leads to another, and you just brought that point home with these children and adults, I suppose, that don't get the limbs, and their life is so compromised, or they can't afford it, and they have to make these incredible choices to pay their rent or mortgage, feed their family, versus have a limb. I'm in shock right now. I had no idea that it was this situation. Thank you for talking about this.
It's hard to. I agree, Janine. It's so hard to wrap your head around it. I didn't know any amputees when this happened to me, but the more you learn, the more aggravated you get, and the more education you want to spread to everyone. So I appreciate you having me on and letting me educate other people in this. With 507 new per day,
that's extraordinary.
I don't want to sound morbid, but you want to be educated, and you want to have that on your insurance plan, and you want to you want to be educated in it.
Well, that's the secret to overcoming anything that needs some work, and that's what the thrust of this show is. When I talk about bridging gaps, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we need to become informed, and we need to see where the need is, find out what resonates with us, and go and repair it. This is exactly the point of the program. And I'm stunned to know that it's such a big issue out there that people are dealing with.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's very hard, and you know, I get emails from people regularly, but gosh darn it, it feels so good to be with Limbs for Life and make those calls and say you never have to worry about a limb again, because Limbs for Life, I should add this real quick, and then Limbs for Life is dedicated to limbs for life for each recipient. So they won't have to worry about it anymore. So we literally get to make calls and say, you don't have to choose anymore. You can keep your house. Or you don't have to give your children up for adoption. Or, and if you think I'm being dramatic, look at the stats. Not you, but other people, other listeners.
Well, I'm going to as well. I mean, I include myself in the education factor.
When I read them for the first time, I thought, there's no way. There's just no way. How is this not covered? And it's true. It's just not covered.
Well, thank you for exposing something that we all need to become more aware of. You know, I'm thinking, anytime I think of people having to make these extraordinary choices, I know we can do something to resolve it. I know we can. Together,
I agree.
How would people get involved with Limbs for Life or donate if they feel it resonates with them? How would they go about that?
So you can go to my website, which is adriannehaslet.com, which you stated earlier in the hour, and also you can go to Limbs, LIMBS, for FOR Life, LIFE.org, and or Google Limbs for Life, and it will come right up. You can easily make a donation. I have some good friends and possibly a large announcement about this year's Boston Marathon. And when I ran Boston in 2016, we raised over $28,000 for Limbs for Life. That provided so many limbs for life for so many. And I continue to raise funds, but I encourage everyone, you know, gosh, the saying has been said so many times, but 10 cents goes a long way. And if you want to make a difference in someone's life, you know, make a donation. It can be $10 or $100 and say, this is going to be this for your birthday present for the rest of my life or your life, or Christmas present, or whatever anniversary present, and it's going to help someone walk and return to the workforce and keep a roof over their. I tear up every time I say it, and keep a roof over their head and be able to return to society. I felt it, and I was well taken care of, but thanks to so many reaching out in Boston, but. My gosh, I've sat bedside to so many, and they are hurting badly. And I can tell you as a board member that it is very, very difficult to hear the stories, and we want to help in any and every way possible. And if you can, you know, give that as a gift to a friend and say, you get to help someone live the best life they can so that they can dream big again and get up off the couch and walk and live and return to work and return to society and return to the workforce and fall in love and, you know, be the person and have kids and be the person that they want to be, whatever that is. What a gift.
We are up against a break right now, and we'll be back shortly. Tune in, The Road with Cove Queen Janine.
Everyone has an interesting story, and those stories can answer important questions. There's an open invitation waiting for you on The Road with Cove Queen Janine. Join Janine and her guests from all over the world with people from all walks of life with fascinating stories on the road. This Out-of-the-Box Hour is on every Wednesday, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Let's meet there. Remember, we all have great stories to share.
Are you curious about the afterlife? Do you strive to connect with spirit? Are you feeling stuck on your life journey? Join psychic mediums Colette Barron-Reed and Maureen Hancock at Omega this October for 3 days of messages, presentations, and readings. You'll fine-tune your natural psychic abilities, use oracles to guide your way, and learn to connect with loved ones on the other side. For 10% off, use discount code DREAM when you register for this workshop with Colette Barron-Reed and Maureen Hancock at eomega.org. Omega Institute presents John of God, one of the world's most revered spiritual healers and mediums. Experience the healing power of John of God and join his team of healers for guided meditation and prayer October 3rd, 4th, or 5th. To register for John of God, call 877-944-2002. That's 877-944-2002. Mention discount code DREAM to receive 10% off when you register for John of God. Learn more at eomega.org.
What does courage mean to you? To Philomena Tripp, it means living the life you were born to live. Author of Invisible Courage, Philomena Tripp shares with us the importance of self-worth and how necessary it is to love who we are. Born in 1955 with multiple birth defects, no arms, and only one leg, Philomena knew in order to survive she would have to rally all her courage, faith, and persistence and live fully. Invisible Courage, a personal story of one woman's desire to beat the odds, finding success, falling in love, and most of all, discovering that her life matters. Find Invisible Courage on Amazon or by visiting philomenatripp.blogspot.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with Adrianne Haslet. She's a Boston Marathon survivor with a fabulous story. And welcome back, Adrianne.
Limbs for Life, we, as I said, help those that have zero organizations that can help them. There are so many, there are a lot of children that are suffering. I never want to downplay that, but there are a lot of limb foundations that help children out. So Limbs for Life in general doesn't help military or children or that sort of thing, only because they have other resources. We want to help out those that are at the, they're going to possibly commit suicide or that sort of thing. But yes, I have absolutely seen children and stayed in touch with families and get Christmas cards from families. It makes me tear up. I have some on my desk right now as we talk that are going to school dances in middle school and going to father-daughter dances, and the father calls mid-dance and says, I didn't think this would ever happen. And there's something so beautiful about that. It's really remarkable. And I will say this, the wonderful thing about Limbs for Life is we don't just, we being when we answer the phone or get an application, we don't just say no. We absolutely 100% will stay on the phone for hours and hours and hours and find the person, the right organization that will find them a limb. So we do, as much as I say we don't provide limbs for children or certain organizations because they have the resources, we absolutely provide them in direct contact with a human, not a robot phone, with someone who can help them. So I applaud every single board member and every single employee. We have 2 employees. We have very low overhead. Us board members volunteer our time because we know a lot of our board members are amputees and just have been on the board for a long period of time and are dedicated and hardworking and feel so, to the point of tears, passionate. we are so proud to say that we keep them on the phone until they have hope, because hope is what we need, as I said earlier.
Mm-hmm. That's true, and I just want to state it again. You said that you have a very low overhead, and the money donated and raised isn't going to line the pockets of a corporate bigwig. This is going to the people who need these services, who need these connections.
It is, and I will say, like any organization, you know, you can say, you know, gosh, I want more people to hear about this. And I'm not promoting this at all. I'm just saying we've had this happen where, you know, any organization has this. This is not a Limbs for Life only thing. Mm-hmm. But, yes, 100% of those, besides the 2%, goes toward limbs. We absolutely have had people say, we want people to hear more about this. We're dedicating X amount of dollars towards PR because we want people to know more about you. And then we abide by that donation. We are obligated, happily obligated, but obligated to abide by that donation. So yes, we 100% give every single donation that is given toward that, unless someone states otherwise. To, for instance, we had a donation that was given by an airline to fly amputees to a certain activity forum that had received limbs, and they were able to do activities that they never thought possible, and that's amazing. But yes, 100% of the proceeds donated will go to Limbs for Life unless otherwise stated.
Has your involvement with Limbs for Life and all the other areas that you are advocating for and with, has this helped you with your healing process?
100% yes. I would never be able to accept a penny from one fund. I don't want to sound ungrateful whatsoever. I hope people don't take it that way. But I don't believe in accepting without giving. And I 100% agree that it has helped me with my healing. I believe in giving back. I believe in, if someone is kind, no. Let me rephrase that. I believe in being kind. I was raised that way. I've done Habitat for Humanity. I was shipped off at the early age of 13 years old to Tijuana by myself, by my parents, who were super strict. I don't know where that came from, but I built a house in Tijuana at 13, and you'd never think that would happen by my parents that were very strict, but I did that, and I learned just opening up those van doors of our group, and we drove down from San Diego across the border, and we were having a Skittles fight because that's what our age does. And the kids that ran up to our van greeted us and then picked the stepped-on, dirty, muddy Skittles out of the carpet of the van and ate them because it was their first meal in 3 months.
Wow.
And I will never forget that moment. And I realized that that's the reason that I never got an allowance, that I never got a handout. I wanted to see what life was like for people. I didn't grow up privileged. I had what I needed to have, but, you know, I didn't get what I wanted. I was, you know, working at 14. And
your life experience really gave you a very honest view of what life is and what it is not. I find your honesty very, very refreshing.
Well, thank you. Anyway, it definitely shaped me.
I'm wondering, and in case people are just tuning in, we have Adrianne Haslet here. She was one of the people injured in the Boston Marathon. You lost a limb from just above the knee down, Adrianne?
Just below the knee down, yes.
Just below the knee down. And you've gone through this process almost 5 years now. I'm wondering, is there a gift or I don't even know how to word it, some life-changing situation that happened for you personally that sprang out of this horrible trauma that you had to suffer?
I think the gift of, we all think we have empathy. I was talking to someone earlier today and yesterday, and I talk about this regularly. I was just at the largest amputee Coalition of America and AOFA, American Orthotic and Prosthetics Association conference in Las Vegas recently, and having this conversation with someone. And, I think we all think we have empathy. And we do. But now when I'm waiting at a red light and it turns green and someone's walking very slowly that looks young, able, fit, and is walking very slowly, not on their cell phone, not limping, I have a lot more empathy for that person, because I had someone lean out their car door. I was walking across the crosswalk on Boylston Street, not far from where I lost my leg, and it was a month. No, I'm joking. Not joking. It certainly wasn't a month. I didn't even have a leg. But I was probably 4 months in, and I was as fast could be. Granted, I was not fast at all, but at that moment, I was faster than I'd ever been. And I saw the 14 countdown, which is a weird number to start with, but regardless, I saw the 14 countdown on the crosswalk, and I thought, I've made that before, I can do it. And I just go out there, and I'm in pain, and I'm not on crutches, and I'm hobbling, but I'm, using my dancing posture, and I go across, and I see it counting down, and I'm halfway through, and I'm thinking, why am I so slow today? I'm in a little bit more pain than not. I hadn't learned that some days are better than others yet. And I'm walking, and just like a Boston driver would do, but I had no patience for it at the time, leans out his window, and he says, "Hey, lady." He didn't use the term lady. I'll let you fill in the blank there. Is that the fastest you can walk? And I lifted up my pant leg, and I said, yeah, welcome to Boylston Street. See that finish line right there? This is the fastest I've ever gone. And everyone had their windows down because it was warm out. Right. And, the Boston Marathon happened in April, so it was summer when I started being mobile again. And everyone applauded, and then literally stepped out of their car, folded their arms, and waited. And he just honked and honked and was angry and angry. And I thought, you know what? The next time I see someone, I'm going to have empathy. And those swinging doors, when you walk in and you push forward, you have no idea who's behind you, who might not be able to get out that fast, or who might not be able to walk that fast. I've gone around those spinning doors like 7 times before I could exit, and everyone laughed at me thinking that I'm trying to play a game like a 7-year-old. It's literally because I can't exit that fast. Yeah. And I think that people need more empathy. So I think the thing that I've learned the most is the empathy. I wait patiently. If I'm in an Uber and they honk, I say, please lean out your window and apologize. I'm not mad. I'm just saying, please apologize. No one knows what anyone else is going through.
Well, this is what I'm thinking as you said all of that. We assume an awful lot about each other, and we really do not know most of the time what the other person's experience is, what's going on. And I appreciate that story as well, because this is the road to compassion and empathy, and all of that is to take that pause instead of being reactionary. Just pause and say, well, I don't know what's going on here, and I don't have to respond to it with anger and hostility. Adrianne, I want to make sure...
There's a reason people get to the airport 2 hours ahead of time. It's because I take forever in TSA, and I back everyone up.
I bet. Because of your prosthetic, you have to go through extra security and all?
Yeah, I think people need to realize that, and other people do too. Other people back other people up. I think a lot of people need the empathy, but anyway.
I want to make sure I give you enough time to tell the audience, do you have any upcoming events, lectures, anything that you want to make people aware of?
Thank you. Actually, I'm very happy to announce, this is breaking news, I'm very happy to announce I am going to be part of a docuseries on CBS. The date of airing is yet to be announced, but it is simply based off of This American Life for a docuseries on CBS. But most recently, most upcoming, I am doing quite a few speeches around town, and they can visit, as you said, AdrianneHaslet.com to stay in the know about the latest news. But also, I am walking in Toronto Fashion Week on October 3rd. And
bravo!
Thank you. So I'm very happy to be walking a couple of times in some different shows, and my service dog, Mr. Fred Astaire, will be there, and I don't think he'll be walking with me, but you'll see his personal appearances. So if you see me on Instagram at Adrianne Haslet, ADRIANNE Haslet, HASLET, you can find me on there, or go to AdrianneHaslet.com, and you'll see the link. I am walking in Fashion Week, and there will be quite a few fun little surprises that are happening.
Oh.
And a few other things that I'll be announcing between now and then. So I'm excited. I just wrapped my second music video with an amazing band out in Copenhagen. I was hired out by them, so I'm very excited to promote that. And my trip to Iceland, too, and how to navigate travel as an amputee. So wait for all that on my website, and I'm looking forward to sharing. Thank you for your time.
And you're on Facebook and all the rest of it, I'm sure.
Yes, of course. All of
Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, I can't thank you enough for talking with us today, Adrianne. You are a ray of sunshine. Keep up the good work, and I hope to meet you in person soon. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Janine, for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Join us next time for The Road with Cove Queen Janine as she brings us another insightful person eager to reveal ways to build stronger, more meaningful lives and relationships. Tune in for The Road with Cove Queen Janine every Wednesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time by going to DreamVision7Radio.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.